Welcome to the January edition of At the Center. My name is Michelle Buman. I'm the program specialist here at the Iowa City Johnson County Senior Center, and I'm joined here with Barbara Budden. And Barbara has volunteered to direct a play for us this April, and we're here to tell you all about how you can get involved and all about the play. But first, I'd like to introduce you to Barbara. Can you tell everyone in TV land a little bit about yourself?
This isn't my first time on the television station here from the Senior Center. Many times I've been here to promote the operas when I was performing as a graduate student at the university. I came to Iowa City in '87 to do graduate work after I had already worked professionally and decided it was time to come back and finish my doctorate. So in New England I studied with various people at Juilliard, Werner Klemperer, who was Colonel Klink on Hogan's Heroes.
Wow.
I was in the Saturday program, so I would travel to New York on the Montrealer from Massachusetts and stay the weekend, and had a church job at St. John the Divine, and we had to go to classes as well on Saturdays and have performances on Sundays. I came to the university once again to do a master's degree in performance. My first master's degree was in arts programming. I wanted to be practical. And then I decided, no, I did better work on stage than in the office. Many people here might say that too. But I teach voice lessons now, and I work at the Unitarian Church, and I also work at the Senior Center in Davenport. It's called CASI, Center for Active Seniors Incorporated. And this is a wonderful opportunity for me to work with some friends of mine, Patty Mott and Evie Stansky, who have worked here at the Senior Center, or at the center. Patty has a group, Standing Room Only, SRO, so Senior Standing Room Only, and there's an ingenue drama group as well. So Patty and Evie keep everyone very involved. They're a wonderful group to work with. I'm also a member of a group that I call the Auxiliary of the Community Theater, Whimsical Women of Wednesdays, and they're the founding women of the theater in Iowa City. I performed and worked with both backstage and on stage with many of the groups in Cedar Rapids and here in Iowa City, and I love working with children as well as senior citizens. I also like taking scenes from small shows, or small scenes from big shows, and setting them just as a one scene opportunity for people to develop, get a taste of being in theater without having to do a 2-hour production. This is what I'm looking forward to with Enchanted April, to do something. There are many other plays. There's another play that was produced several years ago by Patty Mott, The Whales of August. The many theater pieces are now designed for people of a respectable age. Instead of hearing women saying, oh, there are no good parts for people my age, and it's pretty embarrassing to be age 50 and trying to be an ingenue, let alone being 60 or 70. So being age appropriate and having a meaty role to do, that's fun.
Well, we're certainly very lucky to have you as a volunteer director for this play that we're going to be putting together here at the Senior Center, and Evie and Patty as well to put that together now. We're going to be having some auditions at the end of January,
Correct.
I understand. But I think it's important to kind of get the word out about what this program is. What is Enchanted April? Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm going to talk about a little class that I'm doing with people called The Journey to April, because every time you see a production, you see the finished product. No one knows the journey, the tears, the fights, the laughter, the camaraderie, the mistakes that have happened in the building process. So I'm doing a class right now through the Senior Center called Journey to April. We're talking about where do you get started to even pick a show? What's a show that's feasible? What's the venue? Where can we take this on the road? Can we do mini shows and travel around with it? How do you advertise? Even for the auditions, what do you do? So from the ground zero, choosing the show, seeing a movie and saying, I wonder if that was the play. Oh wow, I'd like to do that part. How will we do that? So the Journey to April is a class here through the Senior Center. Anybody can drop in. This is where we start to talk about the design, the characters. How do we get from point A to the post-mortem on a show? so that we can pat ourselves on the back and say, this is what we did well and this is what we can improve on the next time, and to ensure that there will be a next time.
Well, the Journey of April, I understand that started already. We have, 5 or 6 people who are involved, and they meet here at the Senior Center on Monday mornings at 10 o'clock.
Right.
In room 205, which is just down the hall from where we are right now. But people can join this. This isn't something that just because it's started that people can't join and be a part of. What if someone can't come down at 10 o'clock on a Monday morning? Can they still be involved in this process, this journey, in some form?
Oh, of course. There's a woman who has contacted us to say that she'd be happy to help build sets. I think as soon as the word gets out, people will understand that there's more to doing a show than being on stage. There's the background. There's something as simple as putting the program together. That can be a stressful time if one person has to do everything. It's fun to share and to be a part of something, no matter how big or how small the part is. Everybody's part of this structure that we will call the play. There's plenty of room right now. We're reading through the play, talking about characterization and letting them see how I choose people to be in a show. You can make many enemies of some of your best friends in an audition process. I think most directors dread the audition process. It's an exciting time, it's true, but sometimes your idea of who and what a character will be is totally blown out of the water by someone who walks in and you think, where have you been all my life? Or I didn't think I could do the show until you walked in for the audition. Or someone who has surprised people by constantly being a comedic actress, and she walks in and does a beautiful dramatic role. So that's where we are right now with the process. We'll be talking about the set. We'll be talking about costumes, how to hunt and gather or build costumes. Same thing with the, because the room that we're doing this is not very big, talk about the lighting. Talking about whether lighting will be our set, or will we have a big set or a small set. Talking about the logistics, moving the set because of the room where we're going to be performing.
And unlike the previous production that you helped us with, the Icaria, that was at the Englert, so we had the benefit of a large stage, right, and the built-in lighting. We're doing this program here at the Senior Center, so it'll be in our assembly room. That presents its own set of challenges as well.
But that's exciting. To me, it's exciting to have to think about the whole creative process. Aligning a group of people who have the creative juices to go with this, who are excited about the challenge of a big open space. What do we do with it? Do we enclose it? How are we going to delineate? How much stuff can we put in? How many props are feasible? You want to set the mood, you want to set the environment, but there are limitations to every building, and I think everyone loves that in theater. Give me a roadblock and let me see how I can get around it.
Fantastic. So right now we're in the process of the journey to April, which you just described. Tell us about Enchanted April, the play.
Enchanted April is a lovely story, mostly about a woman's trials and tribulations at a certain time in history. I enjoy historical things and thinking how a woman would behave in a certain time period. I remember a song in art song literature, a group of songs by Hugo Wolf, where a lover leaves and you hunt them down and you're going to find them and get revenge. Well, girls love to sing that song, but a girl in the 1800s would not be allowed that type of emotion in Germany especially. And in this time period, it's set in 1922, and I'm going to stick to that because it's post-war England, just 4 years after the war, and everyone is affected by that in the style of dress, in how they feel, their feelings of loss, their feelings of what will history give us, what's down the road, and just simply, I need to get away for a while. And what a beautiful place to see an ad in a magazine about a villa for rent on the Mediterranean in Italy. What a wonderful thing. I know there are times when I picture a cabin in the woods. As long as there's a piano, I'll be happy. So they're just women who want to escape.
So as I understand this, there are 4 women are the main
Yes.
characters.
Yes, there's Lottie, who is the age that they set her in is an age 30 housewife. Then there's Rose, who's an age 38 housewife. And then there's Caroline. Caroline is supposed to be a 25-year-old socialite, and I giggle when I say 25-year-old socialite, because have that title socialite, I think you have to have a few wrinkles. But then there's Mrs. Graves, who is in her 70s and puts everybody in their place, and it's just wonderful because she sees it all, she's been through it all, and she has that calmness to she has the insights to all of their problems. And then there's a wonderful Italian housekeeper who sees it all and has her own perspective on things. The way the show is set up is the first act is when the women are in the planning stages in England, and the second act is when they're already at the villa or the castle that they're renting. So it's not a verismo, it's not just a slice of life in one day. It takes place over a period of time in planning.
And these are characters who, in the story, they're not really friends before they get together. They're acquaintances and some strangers.
Yes, they're at the very first scene. 2 women meet each other at a women's club. So obviously they know each other through association, but not on a personal level. The one woman comments that she's seen the other woman as she's doing her job at church, being a Sunday school teacher, leading the children. And that's the 30-year-old woman commenting on the work of the 38-year-old woman. And it's funny to see the times. People wonder, well, if you're doing this at the senior center, what about these ages? Well, we really can't fudge around with the ages too much, but I'd say within 5 years. But there's a big difference between age 30 as a woman and being 38 as a woman. When you're 30, you're thinking, oh my gosh, my 20s are gone, I'm not any fun. And by the time you're 38, you're, oh, you children, I already know the rules. And the same thing with then as you associate with Caroline, she may appear to be silly to some people, but she has something to say as well.
So we're going to be advertising for auditions soon, and that would be what, the last week in January?
Yes, we wanted enough time for the rehearsal process, as well as time to get ready, for people to think about their springtime schedules. Let me give you the dates and the times. Starting January 20th, 6:30 to 8:30 here at the Senior Center, we'll hold our first audition. That's a Friday evening. Then to cover for people who don't appreciate coming out at night, 2 to 4 on the 21st. We also don't know in January what the weather's going to be. We always have to take that into effect. At this point in time, I don't have a set date for any callbacks, but we hope to announce by the 23rd, and absolutely by the 27th, because the next day is your birthday. We want you to have a nice birthday present. And this gives us a time to set up, like I said, because of the weather, because of the timing.
And these are unpaid roles. These are volunteers we're looking for.
Yes.
We're looking for people who just love to act and be a part of the theater, and they need to memorize these lines, though. It's not, they won't have any crib sheets or anything. So
Right.
we're really looking for people that are able to memorize, willing to memorize, and willing to come to quite a few rehearsals, from what I understand.
Yes, we've scheduled quite a few rehearsals, but the issue is being able to rehearse during the day, because so many personal relationships between the women, between everyone, that it's important to be able to have encounters without the whole cast sitting around waiting to be on stage, but the individual characters to be there for each other. I can't stress enough when it comes to the memorization of things. There are ways of helping an actor to memorize, that it doesn't have to be a daunting task. I know a lot of people feel a little insecure about memorizing things, but there are ways to do that we will explore. I think repetition is reinforcement, and that helps so much without having it be rote or without having it be mechanical. I want it to be real, above all.
So during the months of February and March and the beginning of April, people will be meeting here at the Senior Center in the evenings and during the day, just various times as it fits into everyone's schedule and, of course, the Senior Center schedule, to rehearse. And then in April, we'll hopefully have the set, and I believe it's the 13th. She has her calendar, thankfully.
Yes.
Oh, you went right past April. Yeah, the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th we'll be having our dress rehearsals
Yes, a
here at
tech
the
rehearsal.
center, and that would include putting the whole scene and background up, and then the following weekend will actually be the production.
This is something that I do in my real life, putting a set together and taking it down in a matter of hours. I work with the Stagehands Union, and we do this as a livelihood. And when someone said, well, you'll have to take down the set, we just can't do that. Of course you can. You just need to be creative in your set construction so that you know how to build a set that is easily foldable and put in a nice tight little space, like we do in the theater outside here, and put it in a nice big old truck. But to be able to have it be flexible so that the senior center can still operate. The other thing is, people will, I hope that there'll be this wonderful rumbling of excitement at that point in time when they're worried about all this set being constructed and then being taken down. I think that'll stir up some excitement.
Great. Now, the price for admission for this play, I think, is pretty reasonable. I believe it's set at just $5 a person.
Yes.
So it doesn't get any less expensive than that. So we'll take donations, obviously, to help cover some of the costs. But all of the work that you're doing is volunteer work, and Evie and Patty and this whole Journey to April class that's putting this together. So the costs are pretty minimal. So hopefully the senior center will be able to generate some funds out of this whole ordeal. So,
well, Michelle, what you're paid is enjoyment, camaraderie, self-exploration, just getting to know people, getting to try something that you may never have tried before, finding new things about yourself, or finding new things about other people through these characters. Anytime you're in a role, a lot of that is you. And it's fun to explore different parts of you. My thing that's the thing that's exciting to me is that these are people in the 1920s. Now, the 1920s in America, the Roaring 20s, were not exactly the same as recovering from the big war, or the Great War as it was called, in England. So it's a great exploration in history.
A little history lesson for those.
Well, there's a
people.
wonderful movie I'll put a plug in for, The War Horse. So I'm hoping that if people see that movie that comes out at Christmas time,
We plan that.
yes, that they'll start to see that time period and the way people react and the feeling of the world at that point in time.
Great. So if people want to get involved and they wanted to come and just be involved in backstage, it's Monday mornings at 10, or to contact the senior center, myself, and I'll get them connected with you, and they can be a part of the Journey to April. Or if they want to be a part of the play, then they can come to one of the rehearsals. Now, let's say someone's out of town during the rehearsal, or not the rehearsal, but the auditions, and they're out of town for the audition. Do you have any way of getting those people involved, or
Yes,
how would someone go about that?
If people are gone during the audition process, I want to make this as fair as possible. So if they need to be gone, they can contact us and make a different time that they can audition, and because of the other people involved, I can have 2 of the other staff members on the show read with that person, and we can get a gauge by that time. I would prefer that be done prior to that first audition in January, which is the 20th.
Great.
So prior to that, and I will be
Sure.
in town, so no
Okay.
need to worry about that.
Great. Anything else that you think the people who are interested in this production need to know that I didn't ask?
I think there's room for everyone, and I strive in an audition process to include everyone in a show. This is, when you're doing a play as opposed to a musical, there are fewer people within the cast. There are ways of sneaking people in here and there, a gardener, a waiter, there are ways of doing that. A maid. There are ways of doing that let people have a sense of ownership in the show. I want everybody to have pride in this production. And
If someone's interested in being in a production and they've never been in theater before ever, and they want to, want to maybe try their hand at an audition, what kind of advice would you give them?
To thine own self be true, and be very true to yourself when you're telling your background. Many people come to an audition and the director assumes that they've been in theater all their lives, and they were maybe in a high school production once, and it's been 50 years since they've been in something. It just means we have to dust off the cobwebs a little bit and get people back involved. The other thing is, no one needs to be flamboyant or dress into the part. I want to see the person, to see if that person will fit the character, as opposed to coming in a costume and trying to fit. I already have my ideas. In a way, that's kind of an insult to the director and the designer. They have their own feelings about this.
Okay, so at the audition, you'll be giving them something to read, and,
Yes.
and then they read that, and then you'll get back to
Yes.
to everyone that following Monday and let them know.
One thing too about directing something that's happening in a senior center, for the auditions, I know I have my reading glasses with me at all times. Please bring your reading glasses, but we will make sure that you can read the scripts. They'll be enlarged so that you can see them.
Okay, great. Well, I can't express the gratitude of the Senior Center enough for your willingness to help us put this production together. It's very exciting and very much looking forward to it, so thank you.
Well, I appreciate your courage in letting us do something like this. It can be daunting, but it is a journey well worth taking.
It'll be wonderful. Thank you.